Hey, folks, I am so bummed that I'm unable to be with you today. I appreciate your thoughts and your prayers. I'll let you know as soon as I know anything about just Lisa's health. Um, but in the meantime, I thought I'd chime in and connect with you on something that I wanted to talk about today, which is the distinction between expectations and commitment. So, it came up when I was talking to Chris, and we were talking about one of his projects, and he was a little bummed out about just where the client was and wasn't meeting his expectations of what he thought how the project should be going. And it occurred to me that there is a gap between our commitments and expectations, and I wanted to get into that a little bit. An expectation is something that you have, and it's a lineal deal. So when you have an expectation is around a point in time, and you have an expectation about how something is going to go, how it's going to be at a certain point in time. So within an expectation, you'll say, all right, well, today I'm here, and then X, Y, and Z is going to happen, and then when this happens, I'm going to feel a certain way. And so oftentimes expectations will come around goals that you might have. And I want to kind of get into like what it feels like when there's an expectation, because I will argue that every single time you have an expectation, there will be an unmet something will feel, there will be a void, something will happen where it doesn't live up to the expectation that you had. So think of any goal that you've had in your life, and when you achieve that goal, it never really lives up to the expectation. So let's say that it's a goal that you've been really working on, and you're really excited to hit that goal. You hit that goal, and it feels awesome. You know, maybe it's you bought your first house. Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe you get married. There's so many things that we have that are life goals, and we have expectations around those. The reason that the expectations never are fulfilling is because things never work out how you think they're going to. Or when you do reach that goal, you're left with this, is that it? Is that all that's there? And so as project managers, if you take a look at like how that applies to what we do, we have an expectation that our client is going to be happy, that that we're great project managers and we can make that happen. We have an expectation that the job will close on time. These are all natural expectations. And I don't know that those expectations ever truly go away, but I want to compare that expectation versus a commitment. Because with a commitment, the commitment is never around whether or not that goal happens. The commitment is more of a who you are, right? It's a constitutional level. And when you look at commitments, they never go away. And so, like we brought up the expectation of how a marriage might be, right? You have the big wedding and you have expectations around that, and inevitably something fails to live up to expectations. Versus a commitment, if you take a look at the vows of marriage and you take a look at what that is, the commitment is there forever. And it's only when we get into expectations of how somebody should be or how something goes that we start to have failures, right? It's only there that people don't live up to expectations. When we are within the commitment, that is with us forever, and it's fulfilling, and it really is what feeds your soul. So within the level of this conversation, what we're talking about in the world of project management and in our lives on a daily basis, what are we committed to? And if we take a look at that commitment versus these expectations, I think we'll find a lot more joy and a lot more fulfillment. If you take a look at being committed and what we are committed to, we're committed to the team. We're committed to doing the best job that we can possibly do. We're committed to our salt shakers. And we're committed to having our actions align with our commitments, right? So within those commitments, we can find that at the end of the job, we can have a tremendous amount of joy and fulfillment, okay? So no matter how a job ends up with a client, if we have followed all of the processes that we know will make a successful client, will make a job successful, if we follow our salt shakers, if we're absolutely part of a team, if we never make a decision in isolation, if we are bold, if we're unreasonable and unstoppable, if we're true to all of our commitments, and a client isn't happy at the end of the job, we still can have joy and contentment in knowing that we have been true to our commitments. That's really kind of at the base of it. And if the client is thrilled, that's great. But it's kind of like if you know John Wooden, if you've read any of his stuff or if you're familiar with him, he was the coach of the UCLA basketball team, the most winning coach of all time, probably the wisest man maybe that's ever walked this planet in our lifetime. He would never care about whether they won or lost the game. His only concern was, how did they play? Did they play to the fundamentals? Were they true to their commitments? And if they were true to their commitments, then he was happy, right? So if they won a game but played, outside of their commitments, outside of the fundamentals, he would be really upset. If they lost a game and they didn't, and they actually played to all of those fundamentals, he would call that a victory. Now they didn't lose. They didn't lose because they stuck to the fundamentals. And that's really what I'm putting out there for this team, is that when we stick to the fundamentals, when we stick to our salt shakers, when we stick to our commitments, when we act as a team, that's the result that we're looking for. Okay, don't worry too much about what happens out in the other spaces, because that'll just happen naturally. A natural outcome of sticking to the fundamentals is that we will have very happy homeowners, that we will have jobs that finish on time, that we will have clients that are raving fans and jobs that are really profitable. I wish I was there with you guys. Please talk about this. It's killing me. I was so looking forward to connecting with everyone today. I'll be back up as soon as possible. I love you guys, and rock on.